there, and looks like the spring flowers just getting ready to explode. So always exciting. Brought with me a special guest today. This is Barb Weifels with the Weifel Agencies, Allstate Insurance. She came in to discuss a little bit of some things that you can do to save money in the insurance industry during all this, and just some of the things that how her industry is working right now. So I think you hear a lot of a lot about mortgage companies and how they're working, a lot about what we're doing as real estate agents, a lot about the market. I don't really think we hear a lot about the insurance industry. So I figured it'd be a good idea to get her on here to see what she can provide as far as good information for us. We'll do a regular format today and go over kind of just the market. I do have an article that I referenced yesterday that talks about how the market is doing, comparatively speaking, to 10 years ago, and some of the metro areas in Rochester that or some of the metro areas in the country that have the better idea or better way of actually weathering an economics or a recession as opposed to some other markets. And Rochester is right there at the top. So we'll go over that. We'll go over the market real quick, and then we'll throw it over to Barb, and she'll give us just some information about the insurance industry. So one more thing. Oh, at the very end, we'll do the trivia question again, too. So I have a different thing I'm going to do. I was going to try to do a poll for all the different small businesses that we could support. However, we had so many different small businesses that were submitted. So I figured what I might do is just do a drawing for them, too. So we'll do a drawing for the winner for the $25 gift card, and we'll do a drawing for who's going to get the $25 gift card. So I'll do that at the end. So real quick, as we start off every day, we're going to look at the market real quick. So this is over 4 counties in the Rochester metro region. So we've had 11 price decreases, 33 new listings on the market, which is kind of mid-range of where we were last week. We were kind of at a higher point last week. 2 weeks ago, we were at 12 and 13 listings a day. This is over 24 hours. So we've had a little bit more activity on that front. Everything is selling. You have 24 pendings. You have 11 price decreases. So not a whole lot of price decreases. So that goes back to what we were talking about yesterday with the market itself, is that our inventory has decreased a lot. So those properties that are really well positioned, really great shape, in the right locations, and right condition, those are still going because we do have pretty good activity there. So obviously, there's every property that's a case by case scenario right now. So any type of listings you guys obviously would want to see, we would make sure that we just give me a call and we can go over how that all works. I do have a listing coming up this week in the HFL school district, so I'll be giving you guys information about that very soon. And let's go over that market article real quick. So this is from, this guy's name is Tim Ellis. He is a analytics guy who has worked with companies like Redfin. He's a journalist. And he kind of compiled a bunch of really interesting information about the market. Basically, the article itself is Rochester, Buffalo, Hartford, least at risk of housing downturn in the recession. See if you guys can see that a little bit better if I make this a little bit wider. But real broad strokes information about this. It kind of goes into a little bit about the housing crisis that happened at tail end at 2008 into 2009, 2010. And it goes over information that I was talking about yesterday as far as what the overall market is and how we can anticipate or kind of hopefully anticipate what will transpire over the next few months here. But goes into a lot of that, a lot of the same points that I was talking about before. And then really interesting in this article is that you have areas with the highest risk. That'd be Riverside, California, Arizona, Miami, California, Rhode Island, Florida, Nevada, California, Texas, and Orlando. A lot of Floridas and a lot of Californias. They have those just crazy peaks and valleys when it comes to housing prices or housing values and stuff. And that was the same back in the 10, 12 years ago too. Now, areas with the lowest risk, Rochester, New York, Buffalo, right off the top. So these are areas with we have very steady housing markets. We always have. Not a lot of volatility. Um, we have employment diversification. Our overall score is 30.4, and so it kind of converges all these numbers into one. So I'll put the information in the link of the show notes, and you guys can go in there and kind of dig into the numbers. But overall, what this is saying is that, as with what we've been in the past, our values are very, very steady. You're not going to get over 2 years. You're not going to get crazy increase. Sorry about that. Hit my printer. Crazy increases of values, and you're not going to have crazy valleys either. So it's a very steady appreciation. So over 5-7 years, that's how you're going to get it, and that lends an essence of stability to our market as well. So interesting article. I liked how he had a lot of data in here. So for you data crunchers, definitely go in there and take a look at this information. So without further ado, I'm going to throw it over to Barb. And Barb, say hello.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me on, Nate.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about what the insurance industry is doing during all this, and kind of what your approach has been since the start of all this, and what can homeowners and just insurance industry in general, how are you approaching everything?
Yeah, so I'm glad to help everybody out today, maybe with a few tips and tricks and things you can do. But currently, the insurance industry is considered essential, although I do see many offices, including myself, have been working remotely. So I made the decision early on to close the office to foot traffic just for the safety of customers and staff, and we've been working remotely. But I occasionally come into the office like today. So we're able to do anything digitally that you need to have done. If you're buying a new house and you need that binder of insurance coverage, we're able to handle everything right over the phone, email, fax, text message, any way you need to get the information out to the appropriate parties. We're able to do that without you coming into the office. So as long as you're comfortable working that way, we can as well. So we try to make it very seamless, and we try to make it so that the insurance piece of the home buying process is the easiest. We take all the hassle out of it and really explain to you what coverage you need and why it's important to have it, and then get the bank what they need, the requirements to do the closing. So one of the things the big thing that I'm doing as an agent right now is reaching out to every single customer in my client base, which is about 1,000 customers. We're almost done having a personal conversation with every single customer, and it's really just to find out, how are you being affected right now, helping them to understand we have special payment options if they're unable to make their premium payments. And then just really some people just want to chat. Some people, especially our older customers, really feel shut in and don't have a lot of that human connection. So it's ended up being a lot of long conversations with customers during this time of social distancing. So I also wanted to talk about some things that you could do to help yourself save some money on your current insurance, and things that we've been suggesting to customers. And hey, even if it saves a few dollars each month before we can all get back to work, it's worth taking the time. So we've got all this extra time on our hands, and one of the number one things that everybody can do is take the New York State Accident Prevention course. So once you complete that course, it gives you 10% off each car and corresponding driver on your insurance policy. So you don't have to have accidents or tickets. Everybody can take the course. You go right out to New York State Safety Council. Just pull it up on Google. It is $24.99 to take it, but once you've completed the course, you get that 10% off for 3 full years. So in most cases, the premium savings more than offset that cost. For instance, I had a customer the other day that it was going to cost them $50 for her and her husband to take it, but the 3-year savings was a little over $900. So it definitely can save you some money, not only today, but in the long term. And then it does take about 7 hours to take the course online, but the nice thing is you can start and stop it. As long as from start to finish, you get it done within 30 days. it counts the same as sitting in a classroom. So, you don't have to drone it out for 7 hours straight. And then once you complete it, you get a certificate, and then your insurance agent will need a copy of that to add that discount to your policy. So, a couple other tips, ways to save money on your current policy, especially your auto, is if you and your significant other are both working from home and you have 2 vehicles, you could talk to your agent about reducing the coverage on one of the vehicles and just use the other one. So possibly, upping your deductibles, or if you don't have a loan or a lease on the car, you could remove the collision coverage. That'll save you some money. And also look at removing rental reimbursement coverage and roadside assistance coverage. So if there's one vehicle you could do without for this month or so, and then cut back some coverage there. You don't want to cut back your liability coverage because, nobody leaves the house in the morning and plans on having an accident. So even that maybe one day a week you're going to get groceries, you want to make sure you have the proper coverage in case something happens. But you can look at some of the other coverages on your policy to cut back for the time being until we get back to working in the office. And if you haven't looked in a while or have never really thought about it, it's a great time to consider bundling your home and auto coverage together. I had a customer this last week who had their homeowner's insurance elsewhere, and when she brought over her home policy, we saved her some money, plus she got some credit back on her auto policy for bundling everything together. And many insurance companies right now are offering a shelter-in-place payback for April and May, some longer, some just for the month of April. So if you haven't heard from your insurance company, if they're doing a payback for all the reduced driving that's going on right now, you definitely want to give your agent a call and see if there's any money coming back to you during this state of emergency that we're having.
How would they track that, the reduced driving?
I'm sorry, say that again?
How would they track the reduced driving? Or is it just
what Allstate's doing is, so normally if you're a low mileage driver, let's say, 6,000 miles a year, you're going to have a lower rate than somebody else who's driving 15,000 miles a year. So instead of going back and asking everybody how much you're driving or if you are working from home right now or not, we're just doing a blanket 15% payback credit in the month of April and the month of May for everybody. So nobody has to go through that hassle of, submitting any information about what they are actually driving. And I know a lot of insurance companies, Allstate announced it about a week and a half ago, and then many other companies came out a few days after that and announced similar programs. So if you're not aware of what your current insurance company is doing, you might want to give a call to your agent. Okay. And then the biggest thing right now is this is a great time to review your current coverage. It's one of those things I know we always put on the back burner. It's not a priority. You don't think about what's my coverage until something happens, but this is a great time to review what you have and make sure it's the proper coverage to protect your assets, because your assets are at stake if you have a bad accident, or of course if you have something happen to your house. You just want to make sure you have that proper coverage and deductibles that you're comfortable with, because this is not a great time when we're all kind of tight on money to have something happen and realize you don't have the proper coverage. So I'd love to help you out with that. I'd love to have you give me a call. I'm more than willing to go through your current policies, show you where you can save. I'm always showing people, reviewing people's coverage, and they realize maybe they're paying for things they don't need, and they realize they have gaps in coverage that kind of puts them in a big exposure of losing money or having a lot of money out of pocket. So love to help you with that. Even if you don't come with my agency, I'd be happy to show you or take a look at your policies and see how I can help. And we definitely have time right now to shop around insurance. So I'd love to help anybody who wants to take a look and see what we could offer you here at Weifels Agency.
Perfect. One other question I had was you talked about stopping certain coverages. Is that something that you can set up with the agent and say, all right, we want to stop it now, but we want to reactivate it in 30 days or on a certain time frame, a certain date? is that something you guys can do? So that way, once everything kind of gets back and up and running, you might forget that you've taken all these things off, and then you don't want to forget to put them back on.
Right. So what I would do in that instance is I would, have the conversation, change around the coverage that the customer wanted now, and then I would set it up in my system as a reminder to get back in touch with you, to put those coverages back on, or keep checking in with you. I wouldn't automatically do it because sometimes, things change in 30 days, 45 days, but I always give the customer a call back when it's time to put those things back on and just make sure, is this what you want? Is this the coverage you still want? Because I do that a lot with snowbirds. You have a lot of customers who go to Florida or Arizona for the winter. And what we typically do is just, set ourselves a reminder right in our systems. And we get back in touch with that customer. If they don't call us first, sometimes they come back early. But to make sure that we're putting that coverage back on. So yeah, that's important. If you got to have an agent who's going to work with you and make sure they're taking care of those things, so that you've got the proper coverage. You're not driving around without collision coverage in your car.
Right. Speaking of snowbirds, you do cover snowmobiles, and you cover all the toys that we use that someday we'll be able to use again, the ATVs, the boats, all that stuff. And you have amazing rates on that as well. And you can actually set those up to turn off and turn on too, correct?
Yes, that's
correct. Or are they quoted for the full year?
Yeah, and the one thing that, there's a couple things people are starting to think about now that the weather's getting better is motorcycle insurance. We do offer that. Classic car insurance, we offer that as well. Hopefully, who knows what's going to happen with the classic car season, if there's going to be car shows or not. But, we do offer all those other specialty lines in addition to the standard home and auto insurance.
Awesome. And just let you go here just a second. One question for you regarding houses. What would you say is the best type of coverage to have on your house, since this is a real estate centric show we got here?
Yeah. So on your homeowner's insurance, it's really important to make sure that you take a look at the amount of dwelling coverage that your insurance company is offering you. What you buy the house for or what you could sell the house for is really different than construction costs. So if, let's just say you buy a house for $200,000, the average construction cost in this area is probably about $165 a square foot. And that's for a basic builder's grade house before you have any specialty, countertops, hardwood floors, that type of thing. So you want to take your square footage, multiply it by the 165 to get a good idea of, what is the right amount of dwelling coverage. Every insurance company is going to come up with a different calculation for that number, but that number is always going to be a lot higher than the market value or what you can sell your house for. And it should be, because building a one-off house is way more expensive than buying a house that's already there.
Right.
So, and then just keeping in mind, I see a lot of first-time home buyers taking a really high deductible on their homeowner's insurance. And you want to think about, if you have a total loss on your house, a large $2,500 deductible is not going to make a huge difference in that check that you get from the insurance company. But you're much more likely to have a partial damage claim. So like in this area, a couple years ago, we had 15,000 roof damage claims in this, just in Western New York. The average payout was $8,000. So you want to think, if that's me, am I comfortable with having $2,500 on hand to go toward fixing my roof, or am I more comfortable having $500 or $1,000 on hand? So I have this conversation with first-time homebuyers all the time. To take that big deductible might only be saving you, $70 for the year. And, if you had that roof claim, you could be able to come up with all that extra money. So those are definitely things to keep in mind. And then making sure that you have a good amount of liability coverage, because if somebody gets hurt on your property, they could potentially sue you. So you want to make sure you get enough coverage there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. If you want to put in any information that you talked about today in the show, just post it on the actual Facebook feed.
Okay.
You put your information on there, maybe a quick link to get a quick quote from you or something like that.
Yeah.
That way you can connect with some of the people that are watching it. And I hope you have a great rest of your week. And thank you for stopping by. And you planting out there today? You gonna be planting soon?
Oh, yes. Actually, we started the seeds inside.
Nice.
So we'll be planting the garden soon.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to reiterate the trivia question that we were doing. How many Academy Awards has Kodak won since I guess the awards started? So how many Academy Awards has Kodak won? That's the I'll repost that as well. That's the trivia question. We'll look at that stuff on Friday. We'll also pull the actual winner, who's the small business to be supported. We got a ton of people that responded back to that. So that was really awesome that everybody has kind of their favorite spots that they like to support. So we'll go through that list, and anybody that wants to add anything else, we can throw them in there too. We'll kind of use them as just kind of a drawing for each week, and we'll consistently try to support our local businesses as we're getting through all this and getting back to normal here. So hope you guys all have a great rest of your day. Enjoy the nice weather out there. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and thanks again, Barb, for joining us today.
Thanks.
All right, see ya.